Hello everyone and welcome to Let's Talk Wrestling Reviews Lucha Underground, and we're back again for another episode. And what an episode it ended up being. My name, of course, is Turbo Tony. I'm back without any sort of vocal problems that I was suffering from last week. I'm feeling 100%, ladies and gentlemen, so there's nothing to get in the way of a good review of a good show. This is my bread and butter, ladies and gentlemen. This is what I do. This is what I like to do. Give good reviews for good shows, and that's exactly what we're going to go for there. And just first off, before we even begin, I just want to do all the plugs, get that all that busy work out of the way for you guys. Of course, if you do want to interact with us, you can do so via our Facebook. I mean, that's facebook.com/Let's Talk Wrestling Podcast. You can get on hold of our Twitter account, which is at TalkWrestlePod. You can send my co-host Matt a couple of messages on there, and I'm sure he'll appreciate it. And of course, if you want to send us any more any emails, a little bit more intimate nature, then you can send that at Let's Talk Wrestling Podcast at gmail.com. Plenty of ways to get in contact with us. And of course, you can leave any questions, comments, criticisms, or anything along those lines in the comment section below. That's what it's made for. So why not write something down there for myself? And we did get a slight question last week that I thought I would answer here, as it was Lucha Underground specific, and it was left on that video. Thomas Oliver wants my thoughts on the Lucha Underground comics and how they tie into the show. Now, truth be told, maybe this doesn't make me like the best fan of the show or whatever, but I actually hadn't read them before the week began, this week. And upon actually getting this message, I think it was like maybe on the day or maybe the day after the last episode came out of this review, this comment came up, and I was like, well, what a great excuse to go out and search for them and go and read them. And I have. I've read all three of them. I'm guessing that there isn't any others so far that's been put out. It makes sense considering what happened in the comics. It kind of just fills in some of the blanks and the things that have happened beforehand. And they cover the things like Rey Mysterio, him finding out what happened, you know, him getting involved, him finding the new Dragon Azteca and all this lot. You got the Disciples of Death killing people and then taking their heads and mounting them on a throne for Mil Muertes. And what I thought was probably the best part of it was the Vampiro stuff about this split personality that he seems to have concocted. Whether or not he's playing a facade or if he's not, or if he's genuinely psychotic. It just fills in a lot of the gaps for those particular characters. I think Vampiro is the one who did best. I think they're great. They're free, you can go out and look for them. They're very easy to find. All I typed in Google's Lucha Underground comics, bish bash bosh, they come up, and they're in their entireties. There's no physical copies that you can go and get at the moment. But my response to that, Thomas, is absolutely great, and I think that they've done such a good job with those comics that. Sure, it's maybe not worth doing them in the course of the series, or of the season itself as it progresses. They've got much more important things to be thinking about. But in the interim, having these comic series come out, fantastic. I think that's a really unique way. I just wish they had put more, more reference to it. And what I mean by that is that there's a lot of Lucha Underground fans that may not even know that comic exists. I knew it existed, but I just hadn't had time to. I haven't had the push to really go out and read them. I'm sure there's quite a few people that are in the same sort of situation as I am, where it's like, they haven't read them. They're not pivotal to the season, but they are good. And I thought that even the artwork on them was quite fun, and all that. It's good stuff. I do recommend it if you've got some free time. Like I said, you can just go look on it on Google, and there's no problem with that at all. So, to actually get into the review of the actual show, that's what we're here for. We start off with Mil Muertes, who everyone knows that is my favourite wrestler on this show. I'm a big fan of Mil. He summons Katrina, and he's pissed off that he hasn't been allowed to fight anyone yet. Apparently the broken arm to him is not a reason why he shouldn't have been wrestling. He's that much of a badass, ladies and gentlemen. But there's something there here about... just going into the rest of the promo, I'll go into that in a little bit. But Mil Muertes, when you look at the guy, and he's this big, hulking behemoth, and he's got the mask on, so you can't really see him. You've got these two piercing eyes. he's a guy that when he speaks, I don't know, maybe it's just me, I think it takes away from the scary mystique of him, right? And he's not a bad speaker by any means, but it's just a little bit like, I don't know, maybe that's just me. I just felt a little bit like that maybe they should really whittle down his words to a minimum, because his actions are always going to speak louder than how he speaks. And he's just got a voice that you'd expect to have this very deep, gravelly voice, and he just doesn't have that. But that was just something that I ended up thinking of as I ended up watching the show. He holds up Katrina by her neck and demands that he gets Pentagon Jr. I think he made some reference to Prince Puma there. I didn't catch it as I was watching, but still. Katrina says, no, you're not going to, and vanishes, Undertakers, as I like to call it, away in the darkness. Some problems in the happy camp, it seems. Maybe along the lines, Katrina's getting too powerful. I mean, this is the first time that really she's been able to exhibit abilities on this sort of level. And or maybe it's along the lines, if you flip it, maybe in Katrina's eyes, Muertes is becoming too much of a troublesome champion, demanding things of her and getting angry that he hasn't been able to fight as of yet. And maybe he doesn't want to play by her rules anymore. Maybe he doesn't want to go by her grand plan. This week, if there was anything that, in terms of interesting stories that propped up because of that, I think it was this. I thought that it was quite an interesting storyline that they could be teasing here just slowly. Maybe the breakup in this alliance that was forged. We get into the first match, which is Sexy Star versus Cobra Moon. Now, this is Sexy Star's first match since escaping her captivity from Marty the Moth. But clearly, the psychological damage has already been done, right? Now, for those who haven't seen Sexy Star before, maybe this is the first, this season is the first interaction that you're having with Lucha Underground, and because this is Sexy Star's first appearance, she has been treated pretty much like like a titan of at very least her, I don't want to say division, because there really isn't anything like that here. She's treated on very high esteem. Anyway, she's one of their big stars, especially in terms of female talent. She is treated like a juggernaut, right? She's treated like a proper, established, dangerous woman when she needs to be, right? But she's a babyface, and that's fine. Cobra Moon, who we've only seen once, being one of the newer characters in the show. And I'll tell you what I will say is that her offense throughout this match is it is unique, but the reason why I like it is because when she's doing some of these moves, she did this strange sort of slam. It was almost like a jawbreaker sort of thing. I think it was Sexy Star or anything along those lines. But the moves in general in this match, quite unique, but hard hitting. I liked them. They were going to invoke a response from the crowd in sort of these moves that you really don't see at all, right? Which is one of the calling cards of Lucha Underground. They definitely do like to pull moves and spots out of nowhere at times. But that's part of the makeup of the show. One thing I will say about Sexy Star, she looks in absolutely tremendous shape. I just saw her at the beginning of this match. In terms of physically, she looks in very good condition. So props to her. She's obviously been doing a lot of... she's not exactly a woman who has a history of not being bad in shape. I'm certainly not alluding to that. But she looks in fantastic shape here. She looks in really, really good for the sort of condition that she's in. So it looks like Sexy Star's got it finished. Looks like she's got Cobra Moon exactly where she wants her. She is the more established, more experienced wrestler or luchadora here in this match. But then, just as she looks like she's got things in the bag, she's got this modified surfboard submission. Again, unique, dirty. It looks very, very destructive. Very good. And Marty the Moth shows up, and he's sweating, he's freaking out. He always looks like he's enjoying himself a little bit too much at the prospect of viewing this match live. And it allows the distraction. Cobra gets the submission in, and Sexy Star taps out for what I think is the only time we've seen her tap out so far. At very least, that's what commentary were trying to get over. The match itself was quick. It was okay. And the reason why I say it's okay to be quick, when you've got two main events, which is Pentagon Jr. and Prince Puma, and then you've got King Cuerno and Fenix in a ladder match at the end of the night, in a championship match, no less. This match is okay, not being longer than the others. The other ones have got much longer build-up. This is only a tease of things to come, and that's completely fine. It's okay. Obviously, they're going to be building the Sexy Star into a match with Marty the Moth's sister, and she's going to have to overcome the psychological damage that she's obviously taken on. The Mac was here as well outside. He didn't really do much. I think he was there to try and protect Sexy Star, but I mean, he didn't even notice that Marty the Moth was out there. But, so yeah, that match is what it is. I thought it was fine for what it was. Obviously, they weren't going to give it a lot of time. Bish Bash Bosh, continue storyline. I mean, Cobra Moon gets a massive victory here, right? So she's got a big deal going on, so that's good stuff. Then they've got this advertisement that they showed last week, but I wasn't entirely sure whether or not... I mean, when I say this, I was sure it was part of the show because they're talking about not being jobbing and stuff like this. But I only caught a little part of it. I don't know whether or not my recording or whatever part I had didn't even realise it was part of the show. But here I managed to get a much more good view of it here. And it's Famous B, he goes by his name. And it's done in this cheesy sort of second-hand car seller style, 80s cheesy music, flashy text comes up. And he's basically saying about how he can recruit and manage luchadors to make them amazing, and make them not jobbers, make them stars, make them champions. And he's got this white suit on. He's looking fly, shall we say? And yeah, I actually really like the way they're doing these video packages for this guy when he comes in, because they're so unique. They're so, you can tell like what you'd expect them to be is like late 80s, early 90s. Your local car dealership has got this very cheesy sort of advertisement they paid not a lot of money really to create. It's exactly that. They managed to capture exactly what they wanted to do. So good stuff there. Dragon Azteca was watching that advertisement. They used it as a transition into his mini segment, but Mysterio slaps that notion out of his head. He's still training for Azteca for his destiny. We still haven't seen Rey Mysterio in a match yet, so they're saving that up to be a very big deal down the line when it happens. Because, I mean, he has been signed to at least wrestle, so I'm sure we will see him in the ring. But fair enough, we've got more than enough going on the shows at the moment. Save up Mysterio, make him a big deal later on down the line, and I'm sure that'll be a very big moment for everyone when he finally debuts. The only thing I'm worried about that, though, is that people are obviously going to be much more interested in Mysterio, and the story they're trying to build up is that this new Dragon Azteca is going to be the one that unites all these tribes. And I'm like, well, people are going to be far more excited for Mysterio. I mean, Mysterio's the big star, so maybe they might end up finding that maybe a little bit counterproductive down the line. But we'll have to see how it goes. King Cuerno has a video package explaining his need to hunt, and there's an image of him sitting in a chair with the gift of the gods just draped over his shoulder. For a hunter, it kind of looked like he was on his throne. It was kind of an awesome visual that they have there, and he's just peeking out sort of underneath his hat. And he says tonight he will be a god, which is quite big. But even better than being a god, of course, is that he wants to be the Lucha Underground champion soon. So obviously he wants to beat Fenix, move on to Mill, and then take his title away as well. And I tell you what, I've actually enjoyed Cuerno a lot this season, maybe more than I did in the entirety of last season. He was somewhat of a bit player last season. To a degree, he has still been here, but he's been given a lot of opportunity to have some very decent matches with Fenix, and the character comes over completely fine. It's really, really good. So good stuff from there. This leads us to our first main event of the night: Prince Puma versus Pentagon Jr. Now, this match was quite fun. The only qualm I might have with it is that if you've watched the first match with these guys, in terms of seeing the second match, maybe you would argue that there isn't that much here to differentiate both. I think they did a good enough of using different moves in the match. I wouldn't label that at the match itself. I did enjoy it. I thought they showcased their abilities in different ways here. So I thought the match itself was pretty good. Of course, you can have Puma there. He's going to be doing all the acrobatics. Pentagon isn't that sort of wrestler. He's more a brawler, right? That's the kind of how he gets his work done. But he's still a good wrestler. In the middle of the match, well, at the end of the match, Mil Muertes himself descends down the stairs. halfway through the match. Why am I getting myself so confused there? My notes are so bad here, guys. I really apologise. Anyway, he comes down anyway, regardless. At what point in the match, doesn't matter. He rips off his sling, and then obviously you know at this point that he's completely healed, doesn't need it anymore. And he goes into the ring, and he gives both men a beating here that roughly translates, because I can translate what beatings into actual messages. It's quite a gift. I'm not sure how I got it, but I can translate it for you here. The beating roughly said to both these men, I think you forgot whose fucking yard this is. And he proceeded to remind them whose yard it was. It's Mil Muertes. You know, this is his place. He gives them both a big spear and then picks their both limp bodies up, gives them a flatliner at the same time, a double flatliner, right? Puts the peasants, as he might call them, back in their place. The Dark King is back. And all I can say is, welcome back, Mil. You've been very much missed. I'm very much excited to see him wrestle soon. I mean, we're going to be seeing him wrestle next week. So that's going to be awesome. I've missed Mil a lot. Mil, as I said at the beginning of the show, he is my favourite character in Lucha Underground. Seeing him up there, you know, in that throne, just been waiting for him to get down and just to teach these guys who Mil Muertes is, and it's good stuff there. Katrina then is speaking to Mil backstage. Mil says that it was just the beginning, and he'll defend the title against both men next week, and no one can stop him. Now, the reason why I bring that up, that particular small statement up, playing into kind of the stuff that happened a little bit earlier on the show, when he's saying that, watch that little segment again. When he's saying that, he's not really saying it about Prince Puma and Pentagon Jr. I mean, he's already made a statement physically to them in the ring. I'm sure when he's saying that no one can stop him, he's looking at Katrina. I'm pretty sure that he's telling her, I think you're planning something. You can't stop me, right? You need to learn who I am, right? I think this is teasing that someone's going to betray someone else. And, you know, Mil is figuring out that Katrina is becoming more of a threat on her own, that she might not even need Muertes to do her work, or even the Disciples of Death down the line. I mean, she's able to teleport now, which is quite unique. So, I'm sure this is playing into something down here. I wouldn't be shocked, guys, if we get Katrina deciding, you know what, Mil, kind of don't need you, right? And that this turns Mil more, not in babyface in the conventional terms, but he's going to be this sort of redemption character that's going to be trying to destroy Katrina's empire or something along those lines. You know, because he's been tossed aside, or he's been, or maybe she sets the Disciples of Death on him himself, right? But maybe they don't want to go with that storyline again, considering they've already done the storyline of Mil having his arm broken and then him coming back from that. Maybe it's too similar. But still, it's something that I think that they're teasing. Or even Mil turns on her, or something along those lines, and she goes away for a while and concocts a new plan, like Dario Cueto's doing. There's lots of different ways they could do this. Matt Striker announces that Aztec Warfare, Lucha Underground's version of the Royal Rumble, will take place in 3 weeks to decide the new number one contender to the Lucha Underground Championship. So yeah, that's good. Aztec Warfare last year was a lot of fun. If my memory serves you correct, I believe that was to crown the first Lucha Underground champion. I'm not sure if that was, or maybe it was to decide who would face Prince Puma or something along those lines. I'm pretty sure that Prince Puma was the one that won that. So, if that's the case, and that's just me getting my my timings wrong. I'm sure someone who's listening to this will know more than I do and will correct me on that. But that's fine. All I know is it's going to be fun, and I think everyone can agree with that. Fenix versus King Cuerno in a ladder match for the Gift of the God Championship. This is the real main event of the night, even though you could argue that Puma and Pentagon in itself, I mean, I said before when they wrestled the first time, it felt like a clash of titans, right? And, you know, maybe that match was more for Mil's return rather than the match itself, but still. I gotta love, there's a small little tidbit of attention to detail that I absolutely love, and it basically explains what Lucha Underground kind of is in a sense. The ladders, there's tons of them adorning the outside of the ring, plenty of them, but they're not the spick-span, silver gleaming, ladders that you would see in WWE. No, they're dirty and they're dank. You can see, like, some parts are, they look like they look like they've been inside of some sort of holding facility for like 3 months until someone decides that we need to use them, and it's been sitting there while like tap's been dripping on them, sort of thing. That's basically what it looked like, right? Been some sort of storage facility for months on end, and they just got a little bit mouldy, maybe. It looked like that. It looked dank and dirty, right? So the match starts off pretty good. Transitions into a lengthy and almost uncomfortable beating of Fenix, which a lot of Fenix's matches end up going that way, where the other guy is in control, and the whole point of Fenix isn't him rising up when you think he's not going to be able to again. They end up fighting into the crowd, which was pretty cool, as they usually do. Cuerno then flings. They're on like a separate level. They've kind of gone up into the crowd, so almost like on the second level. And Cuerno just straight out just basically throws Fenix into like a ladder on the ground floor. So he's dropped a fair amount, not the amount that Angelico would have been jumping off one of the actual offices or anything like this, but still a fairly good. And it looked like a savage bump. It looked like it hurt, and I'm sure it did. Now, there's one comment in here which I thought was quite funny, which they mopped up the commentary in this match. Because at this point, these guys have been, falling off ladders. They've been slamming ladders all over the place. They've been throwing each other into the crowd, hitting each other with some big moves here and there. And Vampiro comes out and says, I don't know, this match just seems too violent for my tastes. And I was waiting for the punchline, because obviously, this is Vampiro. Anyone watched Ultima Lucha knows, like, really? You guys are in a completely different level in terms of violence in that match. And Vat Striker goes, yeah, well, that doesn't sound completely right. And Vampiro goes, yeah, I guess you called me out on it, fair enough. Or maybe it's, Ian Hodgkinson, remember? Maybe it is too violent for him. But for Vampiro, man, he can go a different level in terms of violence anyway. Both men, I thought this was a pretty good ladder match. I thought at times the beating on Fenix went on a little bit too long, but they're trying to sell a story, and that's fine. Both men end up hanging off the title rigging. They've almost got like this sort of, I can't even say, it's like a metal sort of, almost looks like bricks stacked on top of each other, but it's just the outline of them. I can't really explain that well. But they're hanging off of it. They both fall off. And Cuerno looks like he's got it all done. He hits the thrill of the hunt after both of them fall off. But instead of going up the ladder, he sets up a table. And he wants to do the thrill of the kill off the top rope. Through the table. Clearly, even in Lucha Underground, that you're done, right? But Fenix manages to rally over this time. Hits a Hurricane Rana. Sends King Cuerno through the table. And he climbs up the ladder and wins back his championship. So he is the Gift of the Gods champion again. I thought it was a good ladder match. It took up a good half of the show. But this is ending their rivalry. I don't think King Cuerno is going to be... I said before that they can't be having too many more matches with each other. In the 6 weeks of Lucha Underground, this is their third one so far. And that's fine, just no more. This is a good end to it. It rattles off. Fenix gets his title back. Cuerno's got some good matches, some good airtime. And that's okay. They need to go in separate ways a little bit. But they're two stellar luchadors. They really are. I tell you what, Fenix is one of those guys that he's willing to put his body on the line. He is very gifted in terms of high-flying capabilities. King Cuerno, I think, is just a very good all-round pro wrestler, right? I just think he's got a lot of skill to him. He's got a good build. He can dive out of the ropes with ferocious speed. He can take his bumps like the best of them. So I think it was a good choice to have both these guys go after each other, So, or at very least, the rivalry going this way. So there's your show. Not a very long review, because there really wasn't that many scenes that scenes that build up the outside of the story. It was mainly built around those matches, and sort of setting up things to come. But because the matches themselves, I thought that final ladder match was pretty damn good, and you've got Prince Puma and Pentagon Jr. in there, and you've got some good star power for Lucha Underground here on this show. I thought it was a jam-packed show. I thought it was 3 matches again, which I think fits the show a lot better than 4. I was critical of last week, saying that I think they just rushed it too. They tried to put an extra match in there, and I think all the other matches suffered because of it. I think 3 on a Lucha Underground show is completely fine. And you got the return of Mil Muertes, which I thought was really good. Got that ladder match, title change. I thought this is one of the better shows of the season because of the in-ring content that you got there. Sure, a lot of the storylines weren't exactly elaborated on, but honestly, I enjoyed this. I enjoyed this a lot more than last week, and I thought both shows were pretty good. Right? I think the season started out strong in the first 6 episodes. It's going good. They so far haven't put out an episode yet that I've told people that you could probably skip it, but I'm sure there's one coming. I mean, when I say that, guys, no show can go throughout the entire season, and there were some episodes in the first season of Lucha Underground that you could skip, and you wouldn't skip that much. I'm sure it's coming in at some point in season 2, but so far they've started out strong and they managed to keep the momentum going, and I've liked what I've seen. Now, there's no great visual in this match, like I said, of having King Cuerno like crash into the table through the ladder like they did in the last match. But they played off that really well in that match as well. But all in all, definitely catch this show. I think it's got plenty there for you. If you're looking for some of the more scenes backstage, it's basically Mil Muertes' return. That's basically all the scenes that are involved here. Even the Rey Mysterio one really didn't have anything involved in it. But apart from that, like I said, thumbs up for me, guys. Go out and catch it. Good stuff. Apart from that, I hope you guys did enjoy this review. And if you did, then why not stick around and catch us for the weekend show, the main podcast that we do every single weekend with my co-host, Matt Marsada. You can like this video. You can subscribe to the channel and become one of our almost 600 subscribers, which is awesome. That's fantastic. Leave a comment if you want any comments or any of my thoughts, anything that I've missed out that you might want me to elaborate on next week. Leave it in the comments. I'll be more than happy to go through that. And personally, for me as well, you guys... maybe guys that watch both shows, this is the only show that I do on my own. Most of the time I do it with my co-host Matt. If there's anything that you think that I can do to better the podcast as a solo podcaster, by all means put that in there as well. I'm looking to become better at this sort of thing. So let me know. I'll be more than happy to take that on board. Apart from that, I hope you guys have had a great week, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you enjoy many, many more. I'll catch you all next time. Have a great time. Bye-bye.